Hey guys, what's up? It's me again. And in this video, I want to talk about regret and my personal take on regret and why I think it is hmm, an emotion that is not very useful. It can be useful in certain situations, but in most situations, it's not. And the reason why is because I think it is a leakage of energy. It is a draining emotion which causes you to be stuck in the past without the ability to move forward. And I think that regret is just a way to frame a certain choice you made, to frame a certain decision you made, and it's a way to frame things that is not very helpful or conducive or empowering. Because usually when you make a decision and you do something, you make a decision in that very moment based on everything you knew at that time, and usually you did not have the information to whenever you made the decision and the consequences arose. Then you get new information about the decision you made, but before you made the decision you did not have access to that information, so you were unable to gauge what the consequence would be of your decision, right? So it's the same thing as if when you're seeing a little child walking and there is maybe like a stone that he might trip over, then the child is walking and you gotta let it go there and experience by itself that, oh, there is a stone, I have to watch out because if I don't watch out, I'll trip. And then maybe the child trips and it falls. Then as an adult, you will not judge the child for it. You will not tell the kid to regret the decision or to regret the trajectory that it went down, because now this child was able to experience by itself that, oh, I have to learn to watch out whenever I'm walking somewhere because I could trip. And you don't judge the child for not being aware of the stone that was there or whatever other obstacle, right? And that is kind of the same thing. You want to look at yourself whenever you are making a decision and then regret the consequences, because we I believe that most of our decisions, if not all of our decisions, are made based on a judgment between something that will give you either more pleasure or more pain. So we usually always decide what we think will give us more pleasure, and this can also be a quote quote negative decision to maybe hurt yourself in a specific situation, or or abuse yourself, or maybe use some substances to relieve some of your pain. But it is, excuse me, to move from a place of pain to a place of perceived pleasure, at least temporarily, right? So we make a decision to, I don't know, open a bottle of spirits and then just chug it down in order to get drunk and forget about our current struggles, or whatever way you use to cope with difficult situations, right? It can also be just going for a walk or talking to a friend, whatever it is. But we make decisions based on our perceived change in state, and usually we choose one that is more pleasant. So whatever choice you make, it's always based on the information you have access to at that time, and you cannot judge yourself for making the wrong decision after it's happened, because only by making the choice you got access to the information that is encoded in the consequence, and you were unable to see that in advance. So regret is just a way to judge yourself, to punish yourself for making a decision as if you should have known better. And in some cases, it is like you know better, but still you are driven to engage in a certain behavior because you just so badly want to get rid of another uncomfortable feeling, right? and then that causes you to experience some issues with the consequences of that particular behavior. For instance, if it's a self-destructive behavior, you have to deal with the hangover, or you have to deal with the uncomfortable arguments or discussions you'll have to have with family or loved ones or a partner or whatever, because you're engaged in some kind of behavior that was destructive. But regretting what you did is, I think, not very productive, because it keeps you stuck. It keeps you, it prevents you from actually taking action, because you're just punishing yourself, or you're ruminating about it, or it keeps you stuck. It's a drainage of energy. And something that I personally like to do in a situation where I feel like I made the wrong decision, because it all starts with the presuppositions you have about making choices and making decisions. Because in my opinion, there is no such thing as the wrong decision. There is only a decision that puts you on a specific course or path in your life, and every decision you make is just adding on to the path. Like it's like the fork, you know, when you walk in the path and you make a decision, each decision you make is like a fork, and it's not the wrong or the right path, it's just a different path. And the decisions that maybe cause you more suffering down the road, those are not necessarily bad decisions. They are just decisions that allow you to learn to deal with certain situations in a different way. And I believe that there is no such thing as a bad decision. There is only a decision that you can learn from, or that you can grow from, you know. So it's the same thing with a failure, a perceived failure. There is no such thing as a failure. There is only succeeding and learning. So this is a very, I believe, helpful state of mind to adopt for yourself, that everything you do, everything you decide, is either a way to learn more about yourself and others in the world, or a way to move forward, to move more closely to your goal. And I think that it's not even the or moving closer, it's always a moving closer, because when you make a decision and it turns out that it's not what you wanted, or it turns out that it's causing you a lot of negative consequences, then it is clear that this is not what you want, or not what you should do, or not what you should put your focus on, right? And that's a valuable insight, a very valuable lesson, because if you would have not made that decision and experienced the consequences as unpleasurable or undesirable, then you would have never known what you don't want. And I think knowing what you don't want is at least as valuable as knowing what you do want, because most of the time we don't even know what we want, but we very clearly know what we don't want, you know? Like, it's easier to know what you don't want than what you do want, because the don't wants, they're usually very visceral, very negatively charged. They are very real, you know? Pain is one of the most real things there is. You know for sure when you're in pain, you know it, you know? So the bad things are usually connected to this pain. So figuring out what you don't want is, in some cases, easier, but if not as valuable as figuring out what you do want. So making a decision that turns out to be not the right one, I believe you always make the right decision based on the current information you have access to, and it's just a matter of it being a learning experience or it being a pleasant experience. It's never something that you should regret forever. Feeling regret sometimes for a while is okay. It's totally okay. Like, it's valid if you feel regret. I feel it too sometimes. Even though I catch myself very quickly when I feel regret, then I catch myself thinking, hey, there is no reason to regret this decision or what you did, because it allows you to move forward. It allows you to learn so many things. And something that helps me whenever I'm struggling with regret is thinking of all the good things that came from that decision. Even if it's difficult, if you consciously make the effort to look for evidence that proves that it was a good decision after all, you will find it. Your brain is amazing. It's such a fantastic and clever tool. And if you ask yourself the right questions, your brain will come up with answers. I assure you. Like something, a quote that I really like whenever I'm struggling with a difficult situation, or I feel like I'm a little bit of a victim, or things happen to me that I don't have control over, and they make me feel like shit. I feel like shit about it, and I desire certain things and they're not coming and stuff like that. Then something that I tell myself is the universe doesn't give you what you want; it gives you what you need, and that is a very powerful belief to have. So I will repeat it one more time. The universe doesn't give you what you want; it gives you what you need. And it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It doesn't matter if it's scientifically proven or if it's whatever, right? It is, for me personally, a very helpful belief to have, because it allows me to let go of the resistance, the suffering. And not always, like sometimes I still resist and I still don't want to let go of the regret and the holding on to, but then I keep repeating to myself, the universe doesn't give me what I need, it doesn't give me what I want, it gives me what I need. And if you believe that that is the case, then you can accept that you are not getting what you want right now, because it is not yet what you need. You first have to look into other things more. You first have to learn more. You maybe might first have to make a whole lot more wrong decisions, wrong choices, before you finally figure it out, before you finally realize what it is that you actually want, or where you actually should be aiming, what you actually should be aiming for, right? And by adopting this belief, it allows me to see that more clearly, and it's a very comforting thought to have whenever you are struggling with a desire, an unfulfilled desire. You can say to yourself, the universe doesn't give me what I want, it gives me what I need. And right now, I need to feel this desire a little bit longer. I need to learn to be patient. You need to learn to be okay with wanting it and not having it. And you need to be okay with letting go of that pressure, letting go of the desire, and just let life unfold. It's a journey, it's an unfolding of things. And yes, you can exert control over certain situations and things. You can learn to control your mind, your thoughts more than if you deliberately practice that. And that is one of the things you do have control over, I believe, at least to a certain degree, right? Because there will always be a level of randomness, which is great, because most random ideas usually are very potent for you to watch and look at and implement, right? But putting your attention on certain things in a conscious way, by looking at things in a more positive way, by trying to reframe things, by trying to change your beliefs into ones that are empowering and that allow you to grow as a person, I think that is something you do have control over. But all the rest, the people you meet, the weather, the life happens, and it's very useful to adapt a mindset that allows these things to happen. You don't want to be just a leaf that gets blown by the wind in all directions. That's not what you want. You want to keep yourself pointed towards a specific direction, a specific route you want to walk, like it, and this road is paved with your values, your beliefs, your purpose, your goals. All these things, they pave the road. But all the things that happen along the way, you don't necessarily have control over those, and you don't want to have control over those, because it's in the spontaneity of life happening that wonderful things will express itself. Wonderful things will happen. Wonderful things will come to be, and that is amazing. That's what life. That's what makes life so interesting, I believe. So you want to have a certain aim, and this aim will be partly um, designed by your values, by your beliefs, and then whatever comes, you take it with an open mind and you allow it to be, and you realize that whatever decision you make, it cannot be the wrong one. It can only be one that teaches you something or that moves you closer to your goal. And I believe that every decision you make moves you closer to your goal one way or another. It may be with a little detour, but eventually, if you stay clear on the things that are important to you, then I believe you will get there. And so I think that regret, it's okay to feel it. However, I personally prefer to catch it very quickly and turn it around into a feeling of gratefulness, gratitude. Okay, I'm grateful that I made this decision and these consequences happened, and now I'm able to see things through another lens. I am now more clear on what I don't want. I'm now more clear on how to do things differently in the future. And that is, I think, a very important mindset to adopt, that you want to learn from your mistakes. And sometimes you got to make a mistake over and over and over again until you finally get so tired of it that you actually make the change, you know? Like, it's not always the case that you make one mistake, a mistake once, and then you will never do it ever again. You maybe make a mistake and you learn a little bit, just a tiny bit. Like even getting 1% more tired of making that mistake, that is also learning, right? That is also a positive improvement. So don't judge yourself too much if you make a mistake multiple times. Like it's okay. I believe it's okay to make a mistake multiple times. You don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. That is the definition of insanity, right? Doing things over and over and expecting different results. That's just not gonna happen, right? If you do things the same things are gonna stay the same. But if you do things just slightly differently, then things can exponentially become different. It's like, with a huge oil tanker in the sea, or a very heavy plane or whatever, right? If they change their course by just like 1 degree because of the added error, it goes, of course, exponentially. If you take a long time, it's going to be a massive difference in the end destination. And that is also the case with just taking a little improvements every day. Your destination will be vastly different, instead of doing the same thing over and over again. Um, so yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in this video. I think I hope this is somewhat helpful for some of you. If you do have tips and tricks on how you deal with regret or making decisions and feeling bad about them afterwards, feel free to share them in the comments or send me an email. I'll put my email in the description, and you can reach out and you can talk about it, because I believe that every one of us has something to teach one another, and we can learn from everyone around us at least something. Everybody has their own strategies, their own tools, their own ways to deal with things, and I am just sharing mine, right? And for me personally, it's very helpful to have other people share theirs, because I can take little pieces of their attitudes, their mindsets, their frameworks, and then adopt them to my personality and make them my own, and use them in a way that I feel comfortable with. And so if you have ideas or thoughts or inputs or anything, I am always interested in hearing from you because I believe that I can learn something from it, and you obviously can learn from it too. Because by talking about it, by sharing, by teaching, you reinforce these beliefs and you make them stronger. And I think that's a really good thing for everyone. So yes, absolutely, feel free to share some of your thoughts with me, and I am very excited to reply to you and have a conversation. And I want to end on a good note. So thank you for being brave. Thank you for looking inward. Thank you for making yourself and thus the world a better place one step at a time. And as always, thanks for watching. Talk to you soon, guys. Bye.